we will have talk by Swamini ji.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So prayers for everyone and blessings for this glorious Adi Shankaracharya Jayanti. Of course, as teachers, we celebrate it every day, and all who belong to the Parampara celebrate it every day because we revel and delight in belonging to a glorious tradition that dates back all the way to Sadashiva. So today, my topic is an unusual one. It is Vedantic Meditation by Adi Shankaracharya. In Aparokshanubhuti, which is a prakarana grantha by Shankaracharya, there is a 15-step process, Panchadasha Anga. So I will be talking about this Vedantic meditation that Shankaracharya speaks of in Aparokshanubhuti. So the opening verse is Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtara Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham. I bow down to Shri Hari, who is Ishvara, who is the first teacher, Paramanandam, who is the ultimate fullness. Aham Namami, I bow down to the one who is the Karanam, the cause of, and who pervades all lokas, Vyapakam Sarva Lokanam. Aparokshanubhuti is a very beautiful text composed by Adi Shankaracharya. Aparoksha means direct, immediate. Anubhuti is experience or recognition and even knowledge. So Aparokshanubhuti is direct, immediate knowledge. The question will arise of what? Direct knowledge of oneself as Brahman, the limitless. So what? I have direct knowledge of amras, mango juice. Then how will direct knowledge of myself as Brahman help? Well, all that is here is one, immediate, direct ananda, which is freedom from sorrow and the cycle of rebirth. I am, aham asmi, is direct, immediate, always there. I exist. I don't need validation, approval, or any kind of pramana. I exist, aham swatasiddha. Then everything else, anubhati, everything else shines in my wake. Aparokshanubhuti has 144 verses. Generally, the assumption that a lot of people have is that we will gain theoretical knowledge of Brahman or we will gain indirect knowledge, then we shall meditate, and then knowledge will dawn and we will get direct knowledge. But here, Shankaracharya dispels all of that. And he clearly says that nobody really lacks the experience of Brahman. There is no need for you to work for the experience of Brahman because you already are that. For every other experience, you may have to work for it because it is away from you. So we have to understand the connection between what is sadhana and sadhya. So in almost a tongue-in-cheek way, as well as a very profound way, Shankaracharya takes Ashtanga Yoga, okay, the 8-step or 8-limbed path of yoga, which is both progressive as well as simultaneous, and he adds a few more steps to it, making it 15 totally, okay? And all these 15 steps are really to highlight how to do Nididhyasana. So Nididhyasana is contemplating on oneself to get rid of all the habitual patterns of jivatvam, where we are so focused on our limitations. Nididhyasana is not intended to give us any new knowledge or any extraordinary or mystical experience. So I will deal with only this portion of Nididhyasana, verses 100 to 130, but of course we will look at the key themes. So we must, understand that yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, is a very helpful system, and we are not running it down. We are adding to it, and we are also saying that don't get too caught up with the sadhana. Don't lose sight of the sadhyam that is you. So, what are these? Panchadasha Anga Nididhyasana. First, Yama. Yoga, Yoga Shastra speaks of the five avoidances. So, because we have a tendency to hurt, therefore, please practice ahimsa, non harming. Avoid the tendency to lie by practicing satyam, asteya, non stealing, brahmacharya, discipline, including sexual discipline, and also walking the path of Brahman, aparigraha, non grabbing, non possessiveness. What does Shankaracharya say is yama? The restraint of all the senses by the means of knowledge. Sarvam Brahma iti. All this is Brahman, is actually what is called yama. And this should be practiced again and again. So in your behavior, in your thinking, in your feeling, Sarvam Brahma iti. So of course, this is a given that you would have already practiced yama of Yoga Shastra. So that which was deliberate has now become spontaneous for you. And so when you are experiencing Shabda, Rasa, Rupa, Gandha, sounds, different kinds of touch, different kinds of forms, different kinds of fragrances, smells, tastes, flavors, Sarvam Brahma iti yama. Then what is the second step? Niyama. Yoga Shastra speaks of niyama as the observance of shaucham, external and internal cleanliness, santoshaha, contentment, tapas, religious austerities, Ishvara pranidhanam, surrender to Ishvara, swadhyaya, study of the scriptures which reveal oneself. Then how does Shankaracharya explain niyama? He says, sajatiya pravaha, continuous flow of only one kind of thought, to the vijatiya tiraskara kriti, to the exclusion of all other thoughts, is called niyama. And what is it? It is paramananda. So whether you are experiencing santosha, you are involved in tapas, you are involved in puja or swadhyaya, all the way your thoughts are only of one type, and that is what? That's Sarvam Brahma iti, and it is to be regularly practiced. So basically, no thought that you have, no memory that you have, no emotion that you have is ever separate from Brahman, that is Ananda. Then he brings in a third step, Tyaga, renunciation. So Tyaga, of course, means sannyasa, and the literal meaning may mean that you give up, take the robes, okay? And so you give up certain responsibilities and so on. How does Shankaracharya explain Tyaga? He says, giving up identification with anatma prapancha. So that which is name and form, which we are so obsessed with, which we are wanting that name and form to give us identity. We want that, we think that that name and form is reality. Give up identification with that by recognizing Atmata Avalokayan. So recognizing Atma alone pervades the name and form. All names, all forms are not separate from the Atma that you are. And this kind of Tyaga is honored by Mahatmas, by Pujyaha, by people who are worthy of worship, because this Tyaga is indeed the nature of immediate liberation. Mokshamayaha. So external or rather any other form of renunciation doesn't amount to Tyaga. So like when we want to touch wood, we will look around everywhere to find a sofa, table, desk, chair, something. And what happens is that as we reach out and then we touch, so we touch wood, and in our minds, we have done Tyaga of the name and the form. So likewise, everything, Sarvam Atma iti. And so from that standpoint, seeing this prapancha, this Jagat as a mithya. Mithya, the status of reality that you give it, which it neither exists, nor can we say it doesn't exist. It is experienced. So, seeing this prapancha as mithya, and that prapancha is not separate from satyam. So, from that standpoint, everyone has to take sannyasa. I repeat, everyone has to take sannyasa because this is the true tyaga that is spoken of in the Shastra. Then, step 4, maunam. So, maunam, of course, is literally, it means that you don't speak, you restrain your speech. And maunam is understood as absence of sound or opposed to noise. So this is subject to coming and going. If it is temporary, I don't speak for a few minutes, for a few hours, and then it is coming and going. But Maunam is also referred to, one Dakshinamurti Mauna Vyakhya. So here, this is Shankara's reference. So who are the wise? The wise are those who are one with that Maunam, from where words together with the mind return without reaching Brahman. And that is attainable only by the yogis. Why? Because it is oneself. So the reference here is to the Taittiriya Vakya. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha. That from which the thoughts along manasa saha, they return. Why? Because words can only describe objects. Words can only describe relations. Words can only describe actions. Words can jati kriya guna sambandha. Words can only describe qualities. And Brahman is free from all of this. And so the wise are one with that Maunam. So who indeed can describe that Brahman? Because Prapancha can be described, the world can be described. So the observance of that Maunam, because all words move in the realm of Sat and Asat, but really the world cannot categorically be called absolute reality. Oh, then are you saying the world does not exist? No, no, no. You are experiencing it. Of course, it does exist, but it does not exist on its own. So neither does it exist, nor is it non-existent. It has that sort of in-between existence. And so wise are one with that Maunam, and that Maunam is ordained by Brahma Vadi Bihi. Everything else is for Balaha. So this is Shankara's very cute way of saying that, people who are innocent, who don't understand the truth. Then fifth step, Desha. In Ashtanga Yoga, there is a prescription of which place you must sit for asana and meditation. In the 13th chapter of the Gita, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, one of the 20 values is also mentioned, that may you repair to a secluded place from time to time. So Vijana Desha, where there aren't too many people, right? Because you are seeking to meditate and so on. Now, Shankaracharya, he says, Yena idam satatam vyaptam. That is Vijana. So you please be in that place which pervades the entire universe. And that space which exists Adav, Madhye, Ante, in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. So the yogi will want to run to a quiet place because, in life and people are so disturbing, and that I want to be free from their negative energy, etc. And maybe there is some validity in that and whatever sadhana you need to do. But Jnani is at home with oneself anywhere, everywhere, because there is no second thing for a Jnani. So when Ramana Maharshi was asked, how do you deal with the other? And Ramana said, is there another? Then sixth step, Kala, time. So Yoga Shastra speaks of early morning time. In fact, in the Shastra also, we talk about the auspiciousness of Brahma Muhurta. Why? Because there is Sattva in the environment, the presence of Devas. It's very auspicious time. Even Sandhya. So morning, then noon, and then twilight, all auspicious time suggested for meditation. Then how does Shankaracharya talk about Kala? So is a Kala Shabdena Nirdishtaha. By this Kala Shabda, what is indicated is Advaya, non-dual Brahman, which is Akhandananda, without any breaks. Why? Because it manifests all beings from Brahma ji onwards. Sarva Bhutanam Brahmadinam Nimeshataha. Like in the blink of an eye, all are manifested. And indeed, what we call time is just a concept. There is no time without consciousness. So between two gaps, whether you call them milliseconds or whatever, who or what is there? It is you, consciousness. And of course, in deep sleep, time and space are resolved because there is consciousness alone. In Jagrat and Swapna Avastha, in waking and dream state, that we experience Desha and Kala. Space and time arise and so on. But in Sushupti, in deep sleep, everything resolves. And so Kala, as a step of Nididhyasana, is recognizing that anytime, every time, you are really Paramananda, and that negates all internal divisions, even Advaya, that you are free from all division. Then 7 is asana. So here Shankaracharya really has fun with this. So Yoga Shastra talks about asana as a posture for meditation. So Sukhasana, so Asanam is Thiram Sukham Asana, right? It is defined as something as a posture that is stable and comfortable. Of course, the attempt is that in any posture, you attempt for stability and comfort. So now what is Shankaracharya saying? He's saying that what you are calling Sukhasana might just be Dukhasana. Why? Because you have Sukha only for some time. Later on, it becomes Dukhasana, especially for those who are not used to sitting on the ground. Okay, this is my addition. Huh? But what is true Sukhasana? So may you know that the real asana, that posture, is that in which all thoughts of Brahman, Brahma Chintanam, flow spontaneously, Sukhena, and Ajasram, unceasingly. So any thought and every thought that you have, it is the thought of Brahman. And any other thoughts that you might have, which destroy happiness, that do Sukha Nashanam. So if you think that the Jagat is very real, if you think this body, mind, which is a part of the Jagat is very real, then you are obviously so focused and obsessed with managing all these names and forms that you lose sight of Satyam, and that cause is Dukkha. So Sukha is Brahman, it is Brahma Swarupa, and really speaking, wherever you are sitting, whether you're sitting on the floor or on the chair, it is on the ground. That ground is on the earth. That earth is in the Milky Way. That Milky Way is in all the galaxies. Those galaxies are in space. And so asana is really that space which is in you. Mai sarvam pratishtitam. So this is the ultimate sukhasana. Then he goes on to talk about siddhasana. So siddhasana is also one other asana, posture. So when a yogi has a variety of siddhis, then he is called a siddha because he has accomplished everything. Then you can guess what Shankaracharya is going to say. He'll say that you are Swata Siddha, you are already accomplished. In the past, you were Brahman, now you are Brahman. In future also, you will always be Brahman. So you are the true Siddha because you are changeless and inexhaustible. Aham Brahmasmi is the true Siddhasana. And so that which is well known as the origin of all beings and the support, Yasmin Siddhaha, support of the entire universe, Avyayam, and in that which the wise see themselves, that alone is Siddhasana. Then 8, Moola Bandha. Now in Yoga Shastra, Moola Bandha is an energetic lock. So known as a root lock also, whereby the perineum muscles are contracted and lifted upwards towards the navel. And then there's some pranayama involved. So normal meaning of Moola is root. But here Shankaracharya is saying, what is Moola Bandha? Moola is the ultimate cause, Brahman, Sarva Karana Brahman. And it is for the sake of this moolam, this Brahman alone, that you are disciplining and restraining the mind. So may you continue to do that, because that which is the root of all existence, on which the restraint of the mind is based, that is Mula Bandha, and it should be adopted by all yogis. Then 9, Deha Samyam, equilibrium of the body. Now, according to Yoga Shastra, when you sit in meditation or in many asanas, the trunk, the neck, and the head, they should all be in one vertical line. So keeping the body straight is samata, deha samya. And naturally, the right posture makes the breathing correct, proper, and it contributes to alertness and peace of mind. Okay, deha samya. Then what Shankaracharya is saying, that you know what true deha samyam is? Absorption in Brahman, that is samyam. That alone is deha samya. So you same brahmani leenatam. Otherwise, this is really funny. Otherwise, just straightening the body is like that of a dried up tree. Samanatvam rujutvam sushka vrikshavat. So what you are trying to do is just straightening the body like a dried up tree. So actually, I'm telling you what Deha Samyam is, that you are absorbed in Brahman, and that is indeed the equipoise of all your limbs. In fact, no limb of your body, no anga is other than Brahman. All Nama Rupas are Brahman alone. 10, Drishtihi. So generally, keeping the eyes open if you are trying to meditate creates associative thinking. So as a part of our meditative process, we tend to close our eyes because we want to withdraw our attention from stimuli. So of course, Bhagavan Krishna also in the Gita, he will say that, you direct your attention towards the tip of your nose. Puja Swamiji would make jokes about people who have small noses, like how will they manage? But anyway, so what is Shankaracharya saying? That drishtihi is really converting the ordinary vision into one of knowledge. Jnanamayam kritva pashed brahmamayam jagat. Seeing the entire jagat as Brahman, that is sadrishtihi. Not nasa agra avaloka, not looking at the tip of your nose. That is not paramadrishti. Okay. So, in fact, it is like he further goes on to say that don't torture your eyes and your nose by only looking at that, but have steadiness of the vision. How? So that is step 11. Okay, driksthitihi, steadiness of the vision. So what do you have to do? You please direct your attention, your vision to that where all distinctions of drashta, darshanam, drishyam are resolved. So all the distinctions of seer, sight, and what is seen, they all resolve, and not to the tip of your nose. So, don't get too hassled with all that. And in fact, even in one of our beautiful Shanti mantras, Om Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha. So may I see all that is auspicious. That is one meaning. The other meaning is, whatever we see, may we recognize that as auspicious, because it is sacred, it is the presence of Bhagwan, it is the presence of Yodi Atma. So may you be steady in this vision. So here we get to caught up with the movie of our lives. So now there is this wonderful screen, and then there is a tsunami, and there's an earthquake, and then there is this roller coaster of emotions. Nothing happens to the screen. The screen doesn't get wet, the screen doesn't get damaged, and all the characters are there on the screen, but the screen remains untouched. So one is like that. One is like that. I mean, that example is generally given so that we are able to appreciate that, really speaking, I as Atma am untouched. All these are so-called associations, gains, losses. That's all the drama of life. It's all name and form. And it is not separate from that screen. Without that screen, none of this is possible. I am that Satyam, Brahma Satyam. Everything else, Anyat Sarvam, is Mithya. Aham Brahmasmi. So may this vision be very steady. Then 12, Pranayama. So pranayama is now spoken of in 3 shlokas. According to Yoga Shastra, ayama, regulating your prana, is very important. And it's called pranayama, of course. By that, we are able to regulate all the different processes in our bodies. So pancha prana, etc. Shankaracharya goes one step further and he says, Sarva vrittinam nirodhaha, the restraint of all the different thought modifications of the mind by regarding chittadi sarva bhaveshu, all the mental states are Brahman alone. So whatever you are regulating, you are increasing, you are decreasing, you are amplifying, anything, everything, all that is pranayama. And Yoga Shastra gives 3 stages. So Puraka, when you are breathing in, you are filling up the lungs with air. Kumbhaka, you are retaining that Vayu in the lungs. And Rechaka is you are expelling or vacating the lungs of prana. So this is yogic pranayama. Then how does Shankaracharya speak of this? He says that start with Rechaka. Rechaka is all the, you expel the air, okay? And what is that? That is prapanchasya nishedhanam. So when you are breathing out, or rather what true Rechaka is recognizing that all these names and forms, this prapancha is mithya. Then what is true Puraka? It is the thought, Brahma eva ahamasmi, that is Puraka. You're breathing that in. And then the steadiness of that. So when Kumbhaka is retention, I am indeed that Brahman is Kumbhaka. So this is the real course of pranayama for the prabuddhaha, wise beings, whereas other kind of pranayama, he says, is playing with your nose. Okay. So basically recognizing all nama rupa is mithya, all thoughts, all feelings, they cannot exist without me, Brahman. This doesn't mean that we are rejecting any aspect of yoga, but we are recognizing that sadhana is meant for sadhya, recognizing oneself as the limitless. Then 3 more, pratyahara. Pratyahara, Yoga Shastra talks about it as withdrawal of the mind from the sense organs, also known as Dhamma in Vedanta. So it is Indriya Nigraha. Then how does Shankaracharya speak of it? Manas chittihi majjanam, the absorption of the mind in chittihi, in consciousness, by seeing drishyatva vishayeshu atmatam, that all the objects that I see around the room, all the people that I see on the screen, okay, no one is really a cause of disturbance. I see Atma pervading all of them. This is to be abhyasaniyaha, mumukshubhihi, okay. So don't think this is only for jnanis. Is their recognition. Mumukshus have to practice. This is Atma, that is Atma, this is Atma. All these people who are on the screen, they are all Atma. Then 14, Dharana. Yoga Shastra, Dharana means focusing your mind on an object. It also involves turning your mind away from other objects of the world. So naturally, if you're focusing on a flame or a mantra, then you bring your mind back again and again. Then Shankaracharya says, true dharana is seeing that yatra yatra mano yati brahmana tatra darshanat. Wherever your mind goes, however illegal, immoral, fattening, or whatever kind of thought, feeling, emotion, everything you have, wherever it goes, there alone Brahman is. Because is there a place where Brahman is not? Is there a time that Brahman is not? So the steadiness of the mind that all that is here is Brahman, there is nothing apart from Brahman, that is indeed the true dharana. So the the moron, which is politically incorrect, but I will still say it, was waiting while watching the waves in the ocean. So then he was asked, what are you waiting for? Oh, I am waiting for the waves to die down before I see the water. If Brahman is one of the objects in the creation, then yes, you have to keep your mind on it. But all that is here is Brahman, is you, then you don't really have to turn away from other objects. And finally, the 15th step, contemplation on the self, dhyana. So again, in Yoga Shastra, dhyana is defined as the consistent flow of a particular thought on a particular object or a mantra. So if it is with an object, it will be some sort of upasana, like Shaligrame Vishnu. But Vedantic meditation, there is no imagination, there is no hypnosis, there is no affirmation, there is no imagination. So you're only invoking the knowledge that you have gained through Shravanam and Mananam. So Shravanam is, don't please translate it as mere listening, okay? Systematic learning with a traditional guru. And Mananam is freeing that knowledge from any kind of weakness, error, or doubt. That what I hear, what I see is me. And that's why the Shastra says it. It is a fact for me. And so Brahmaiva ahamasmi iti sadvritya niralambataya. So remaining independent of everything else. I am indeed that Brahman. That is indeed dhyana shabdena vikhyataha. That is Paramananda Daini. So this recognition, which actually strips away all notions that you have of aham and mama, I and mine, and the self-evident you illumines everything that is seeing it clearly. And finally, samadhi. So there is not much difference between dhyana and samadhi. In dhyana, some sort of deliberate effort is required in Yoga Shastra, and you slip into samadhi where there is a fusion of the subject and the object effortlessly, without without the will playing a role. So what does Shankaracharya say samadhi is? The complete forgetting of all thought. Nirvikarataya vritya. You're stripping all thoughts and seeing that it is changeless, nirvikara. and seeing it as brahmakara. So in other words, we have heard of akhandakara vrittihi, that every vritti is brahma vritti, and that vritti where you don't see Brahman as an object, but it is indeed me. That is indeed samadhi. That is samadhi. That is jnanam. And so he concludes this section of Nididhyasana or Vedantic meditation by saying that please practice this regularly until the truth is assimilated by you. Of course, as you practice, a lot of obstacles will come along, which is the lack of inquiry, anusandhana rahityam, or the desire for sense of enjoyment. I want to have some mango juice right now when I am meditating, or laya, sleep, tamas, dullness, vikshepa, some sort of disturbance, distraction, pings on my phone, rasaswada. Oh, this is wonderful, Paramananda. I don't want to go into the world and then get involved with all interactions, or shunyata, blankness. So obstacles are a given. Don't bother too much about it. But Shankaracharya encourages us and tells us that you can dwell on this because it is really you. And so with these 15 steps of Vedantic meditation, Nididhyasana, all of us have his blessings and the blessings of the entire Sampradaya. Om Tat Sat.